Hello everybody. So a little bit of an update here. So we were working on the Scout vehicle, something we kind of wanted to put together for a couple different reasons. But the most prevailing reason being we wanted to set up get the night vision course up and running with the driver portion. Well, we found a 1996 Exploder, as everybody calls them. They're Ford Explorers. And it looked pretty good. We picked it up for $300, not a big deal. And it was something that we were willing to put a lot of time and effort into. Not a restoration process, more of a takeaway from what's still there, I guess you could say. Well, a little bit of an update on that. We've made the decision to abandon the Exploder or Ford Explorer project. There are a few different reasons. I'll swap the video camera around. Obviously, when you are driving, seeing through the floor may not be the best option. And on that side too, it's really bad all the way around. You can see out through cracks there. You can even see it on top of the wheel well there, running down. It got worse in the back. One of the cross members, the bumper itself, is completely gone. The shackles that have to be redone, you can see that's just gone. This one is not gone yet, but the inside portion is just rusted all the way through. Just so much of a mess. Just a big mess. The shocks are absolutely destroyed. There's nothing left on the rear end of this thing. And then it got worse. When we go to see the body, it's not supposed to do that, but it's doing it. So, and then we came to the front, and the rockers were just absolutely a mess, just rough. And then when I went to pull the back seat out, I literally had to rip a hole in the floor just to get that back seat out. It was just kind of one thing after another with this thing. On top of, there is no linkage to the console shifter either. So the console shifter was completely done. You can see the rockers on this side are also bad. So if you look up underneath into the transmission, probably can't get any video of it. It's too dark under there. But long story short, no console shifter. The taillights need replaced. The headlights need replaced. The fuel pump needs replaced. We need to figure out a way to shift it, drive it, keep it running. New muffler, needs everything. Cats muffler, downpipe, all of it. Just so much work that we'd have to put into it, plus do wheel spacers, plus possibly lift it if we wanted to put slightly bigger tires on it, or use center or positive set rims and then tires as well. It was just kind of trying to do a thing of like $300 turns into 4,000 really fast. So frustrated with the prospects of not being able to have a Scout vehicle. I did some searching online and different things like that, and I looked at different vehicles and the kind of things that the kind of capabilities that we want from it. Obviously, it wouldn't just be a driver TC kind of program. We'll wrap it into some of our Fire and Manuever and other programs that we have, so that we can use the vehicles and utilize them for medevac purposes. So it goes into our combat medical or our care under fire program. It also works into some of the other vehicle operations, convoying, different things like that. So, pretty big piece to the puzzle. Without vehicles in the world that we live in, and tactically the world that we live in, without vehicles, you're walking everywhere. Well, that works until you have to cover a larger area. So covering a smaller area just isn't going to work. So I jumped online. Well, first of all, I went through the armory. Found some things I didn't need anymore. We don't shoot with, whatever it might be. So then I jumped online and went, well, what kind of trading value do I have? So I looked up the trading value. Everything put together was about $4,700. That's my trading value. Now, the actual value of the items, what they're worth if I were to try to sell them, didn't come close to that. Especially from a person-to-person sale. It would have to be through an auction house or something like that. And even if I went to a gun shop and tried to get them to buy the equipment from me so that I could take that money and apply it toward vehicles. I wouldn't even probably get more than like 40 to 30 to 40% of the actual overall value. So I had about $5,000 in trading value, decided to look online, and I split it up into 2 different transactions. Because at first I was going to throw it all into one, and I tried that a few times. Some people just weren't biting. You know, even when they had like vehicles that were worth less than half my trade value, I was like, no, we got to figure something out here. So, interesting story on that one. We found one. And I used the lower half of my trade value to try to start the deal. And he saw everything. He said, yep, looks good. When can you come down and trade it? My driver is without service. So I'm like calling him like, hey, where you at? Like, sending him text messages, calling him. Turns out he was just out of service and couldn't hear me. But when he came back into service, he was able to respond to me. And we zipped down to Bangor, Michigan, about an hour and 30 minutes to the south of us, to look at this vehicle. And I thought, you know what, this is gonna be great. He says, I'll bring a tow strap just in case. We're gonna drive this thing home tonight. And then we get there, deal's going through, everything's good. And he goes, oh, I should mention, I have a breathalyzer device in the vehicle. But I've got another vehicle, he said. So I have to set him an appointment and everything like that. So that was kind of like okay. So I took the most important piece of the trade value back home with me, with title in hand, because he, at that point in time, had the keys in the vehicle. So, and some of the stuff. So I held the value of the ownership. He held the value of possession and some of the stuff, and I held some of the stuff. So it was an equal 50-50 trade, or 50-50 holding on it, if you will. So the deal is still on. We both have something from the other. So the deal is going through. So long story short, we finally get that done yesterday. And that was a whole pain in the ass in amongst itself. I was up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I didn't get back to Howard City till about, I would say, somewhere around noon. And I still didn't have the vehicle. They actually had to go get picked up last night and trailered back home, because on the way, his downpipe rattled back and up against the plastic fuel tank and ruptured a hole in the fuel tank. It was not very big. It's repairable, but we're just going to replace the fuel tank altogether because there's just really no point at this point. However, I do have the repair kit, and I'm probably going to try to tinker at it, run this thing out of fuel so I can drop that tank safely to do the repair without fuel in there, because I really don't like the idea of being covered in gasoline. So anyway, so long story short, all that goes on like that. We get that here. Now, I said half the trade value, because I immediately jumped back online with the other half of the trade value, just in case this half of the trade value didn't go through. Like, in other words, the deal fell through or whatever it might be, and I have to return the title and then go get my stuff. So I was like, well, I got to have my bases covered, and one vehicle is not going to be enough. I think we all knew that was going to happen at some point. So I looked for something very similar, if not exactly the same. I was like, I want something close, because military is all about uniformity, but for me, the capabilities of both vehicles need to be the same. Because it's kind of like a buddy run system, if you will. If they both aren't the same, and they both don't run the same and have the same capabilities, the same speed, somebody's going to get left behind. And I will never leave a fallen comrade kind of comes into play here. I'll never leave my comrade to fall into the hands of the enemy, stuff like that. So it's that mindset, that same mindset, and the uniformity and different things like that. But it also allows us to have 2 students at the same time during the driving course, because we have 2 vehicles. It'll also allow for team structuring, to where we can have 2 vehicles where they learn convoy operations, proper spacing, communications, driving techniques under night vision, and everything like that. So long story short, so Wednesday rolled around. Monday was a total blowout. There was nothing I could find. Tuesday, it started looking kind of good. They had a couple of options, but people, they do is they look at the messages, and then they would just leave me on red. And I was like, I'm not doing this. Wednesday rolled around. I noticed a vehicle that was out in Fruitport. Looked very similar to what we have. So I reached out to him and I said, hey, this is what I got for trade. And he said, both? Yeah, both. He's like, okay, yeah, let's make this happen. Let me find the title. So he goes rummaging for the title. Well, he had to get home from work first, and then he went rummaging for the title. So we're on the way to go see this thing, unsure if we're going to be able to bring it back. And the story on this one was, he said, I have a pinion bearing out. Okay. So, but it can run and drive safely home. I talked to my mechanic, and he went with me to go do this. He's like, yeah, it should be okay to drive it home. I mean, it could give out in the next 5 minutes, it could give out in the next 5 years, it could give out in the next 50 years. We don't know. Pinion bearings is just a little, there's a lot of variables there you don't know. We don't know how bad it is, and when it's bad, it'll just go bad, and that'll be the end of it. So we're able to get more information from that. For anybody that knows anything about pinion bearings, if it's on D-cell, it's not the hard one. It's going to be the one at the front of the drive shaft. So we're a little bit relieved. So there's a lot less work that has to go into this one. However, both of these do need a substantial amount of work. I shouldn't say substantial. They run and drive right now. But they do need a fair bit of work to be the same. There you go. And one of them to be safe. One of them, the leaf springs, the second one we found on Wednesday, the leaf springs are going the other way. It's not supposed to happen. They should be angled downwards, and they're not. They're flat, straight across. So, yeah, but they're both running strong running and driving vehicles. Both drive under their own power. It was great because we offloaded the other one, the 2001, off the trailer last night. So, you guys are probably wondering, I haven't really given information what we were looking at. I did post a picture of one of the things we were looking at. So anyways, but we'll start with this. But, yep, so, exploder. I think we gave her a lot of effort and time and thought. We looked at parts and everything like that. We even bought a couple things. We even got a fuel pump. So if anybody's looking for a fuel pump for a 90s Explorer, I have one. So please come get it. Good drivetrain. We might try to take that out. Not really sure. Kind of don't want to mess with it. Just kind of want to get it out of here at this point because it's just an eyesore. But in exchange, we got not one, but two XJs. So we got a pair of 2000s. Well, one's a 2000, one's a 2001 Jeep Cherokee Sport 4-door Jeeps. So as you can see there behind me, there's one, there's two. Interesting thing about this too, you'll notice that they are exactly the same color, exactly the same body lines, everything like that. Well, we're looking at the serial number, or we're looking at the VIN numbers. Then we looked at the manufacturing date. Both these Jeeps are both black, off the same line, and they were built a month apart. One for the 2000 model, and one for the 2001 model. So we'll have more updates soon, but I can show you the fuel tank real quick. It was a lot of fun. So there's the end of the muffler. There's the hole that burned in the fuel tank. There should be a better view from underneath. You can see that right there. It's a plastic fuel tank. It burned a hole in it. So, is to have both of these have a 4-inch rough country lift, which this one already has. So total trade value I had, like I said, $4,700. Each of these were listed for $2,500. So already I kind of did okay. The one guy threw $400 in for the 2000 there. So threw $400 in because I was going to take part of that partial trade, that other trade back. And he said, I kind of want to have both. How do I keep the deal sweet? I made it happen. I was able to make $400 off the deal. So it cost me, I netted $400 in the midst of all this. Now there's some work that's got to happen, and that's okay. But the reason we wanted to go with the Cherokees is because of the 4-door function. They're also very small. So this is with the 4-inch rough country lift. This is how tall I am. There's the top of the Jeep. The top of my truck, on the other hand, with a standard lift, standard tires on a 2014 F-150. That's about the top of my truck. So they are substantially shorter. They're smaller. The wheelbases are smaller. They're in length. I mean, they're nearly the size of the cab of my truck in length. So there's a lot of things about not going with a full-size pickup. I think we all think bigger is better sometimes. Not always. I happen to think that smaller can be better at times too. Best part about this whole deal was, see, black and gray. Black and gray. Same interior too. Everything's exactly the same. They're completely set up the same. The keys are different. One came with a fob, one didn't. But they're both the 4.0 inline sixes. I think we have 3 7.3 gears in them. We're going to pull the build sheets and have a look at them, but we're pretty sure that these were made probably weeks, if not a couple days apart. So, yeah, it's kind of interesting. Just wanted to share that with you guys. But the update about these, everything was pretty good though. Not bad. The unibody on both of them is completely spotless, solid. The only one with slight concern is obviously got rocker rust. It's a Jeep thing. It's what they got. I can deal with rocker rust. What I can't deal with is rocker rust and my floorboards and all the areas where my body line is supposed to be, in frames and this, that, and the other. It's just the rockers, which is normal for Michigan. So we're going to figure out a way to deal with that rust and how to make it not come back on whatever replacement we put in. But, so yeah, that's kind of where we're at. They're both 4.0 high out, or I shouldn't say high outputs. They're just 4.0 liters. They're the same model, different years. Let me pull this real quick. Give you guys a show. Hold on. All right, I'll show you guys there. So it's an inline 6. As you can see, there's plenty of space to do work. There's the fuel or the oil filter. There's just plenty of space. Everything you can do pretty much with this engine sitting right in the vehicle, which makes it quite attractive for us to look at them. So, but I just hope that we don't find more super bad things to have to fix, and we'll see how it goes. But so far so good. That's what it's looking like. So far so good. But yeah, so I'll keep you guys updated as we learn more. Yeah, that's all for now. Thanks, guys.